It's been 3 years of promises made and promises kept.
Hey, this is Henry Rogers with the Daily Caller News Foundation. We're here in Pennsylvania with Vice President Mike Pence. Let's see what he has to say.
Mr. Vice President, thank you so much for sitting down with us. We really appreciate it.
You bet. Welcome to the bus. It's great to be on the road with you here in Pennsylvania.
I just want to ask you about Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden. They've called themselves moderate, but they believe in taxpayer abortion. What do you make of all of that, honestly?
Well, I don't see any moderates in the Democrat field. I mean, I told people in Iowa the other day that those people were standing so far on the left on that debate stage, I thought it was going to flip over. I mean, think about it. The leading candidate of their party today is an avowed socialist in Bernie Sanders. And everybody else in the last 4 years has basically adopted the socialist policies that Bernie Sanders was advocating for all the years that I served with him in Congress and that he has throughout his career. And so we think the stakes in this election have never been higher. But Henry, we also think the choice in this election has never been clearer, that it will be a choice between the socialist policies, the big government, the liberal policies, taxpayer-funded abortion, health care for illegal immigrants, compared with a freedom agenda that President Trump and I are going to carry all across Pennsylvania, all across America. And I have no doubt in my mind, when we offer the people a choice between freedom and socialism, the American people are going to choose freedom again for 4 more years.
On the abortion note, when is President Trump going to defund Planned Parenthood?
Well, I will tell you, it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as vice president to the most pro-life president in American history. I mean, from the first day of this administration, President Trump has been keeping his word to stand for the right to life. We reinstituted the Mexico City policy to make sure no taxpayer funding would go to organizations that provide or promote abortion around the world. And we expanded the Mexico City policy far beyond anything it had ever been. And the president, of course, just spoke to the March for Life. He's appointed strict constructionists to our courts at every level. But with regard to Planned Parenthood, remember that I had the privilege of signing, of casting the tie-breaking vote on a bill in the Senate that allows every state to defund Planned Parenthood, and President Donald Trump signed it. And we made the kind of changes in federal policy that have excluded Planned Parenthood from federal funding. So we'll continue on that march, and I believe the day will come in our lifetime when we'll see Roe versus Wade sent to the ash heap of history, and we'll put the sanctity of life back at the center of American law, and President Donald Trump will have written an important chapter in that story.
I really just want to ask you real quickly about John Bolton. All right, so he's the latest White House official to release a book, soon to release a book. Do you view that as an act of disloyalty?
Well, I know the transcript of the book will be properly reviewed from the standpoint of classified information. But it was disappointing to me to see someone who served in our administration before the end of our first term come out and write such a book. But I haven't seen the transcript. I haven't seen a copy of it. I'll withhold judgment until then. But look, all of this, I will tell you, Henry, I think is. I honestly think it's not where the American people are focused.
Right.
I know it's where Washington focuses,
right.
and I know it's in your occupation what you have to talk about.
Right.
But like in the diner I was just in here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, traveling around the state today and traveling around the country, what I hear people talking about is how proud they are with the leadership this president's provided, of reviving our economy, rebuilding our military, keeping the promises that he made to stand by our values, whether it be life or religious liberty, have America standing tall in the world again. That's where the American people are focused, on the issues that matter most to them. So that's where we'll stay focused.
And I think an issue that we can all agree on is, getting the troops back home. Your son, he's a Marine.
And my son-in-law is a Navy pilot.
And your son-in-law is a Navy pilot. When do you think we're gonna bring the troops home? When do you think we're really going to do that?
Well, just remember the president already began the process bringing our troops home from the border of Turkey and Syria. He sent me to Ankara, Turkey, to negotiate a ceasefire, which continues to hold to this day. But the president made the decision, among some opposition, even in our own political party, that it was not the mission of American forces to secure the border of Syria and Turkey. That he brought the troops out, and the net effect has been the ceasefire is holding. We've secured the oil fields for our Kurdish allies, and our troops are coming home. We're continuing in strong negotiations while standing and leaning into the fight with the Taliban and other terrorist elements in Afghanistan. We're continuing negotiations for the process of reaching a peace deal in Afghanistan that will allow us to bring our troops home. There will likely always be a need for us to have some kind of a presence, likely a counterterrorism presence in the region, because historically Afghanistan has been a place where organizations like Al-Qaeda, the Haqqani Network, and Al-Qaeda, and even ISIS have found a safe harbor. We'll need to make sure that those terrorist organizations don't reconstitute in that part of the world and threaten the United States and our allies. But the president is absolutely committed to continue to work to achieve a peace agreement in Afghanistan that would allow us to bring our military troops home.
Sitting next to Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she obviously, as you know, ripped up her speech at the end of the night. Do you think that was in any way? Appropriate to do that?
No, I think it was a new low.
Yeah.
You know, I served in the House of Representatives for 12 years. And the State of the Union is a tradition when the Congress comes together, when the House and Senate welcome the President to the Capitol for a report on the State of the Union to address the nation. And the contrast was remarkable. President Trump made a speech that was focused on America. And I thought by her actions, Speaker Nancy Pelosi tried to make it about her. And I think the American people see through it. The progress we've made over the last 3 years is incredible. As I listened to the president deliver the story of a blue-collar boom, a growing economy, a rebuilt military, standing tall in the world, standing up to our enemies, standing with our allies, over 180 conservatives on our federal courts, the progress that we've made as a nation. I couldn't have been more proud to have President Trump's back last night, and couldn't be more excited to be out on the campaign trail today telling his story here in Pennsylvania.
So it seemed like she was fidgeting on stage. It seemed like, you were sitting right next to her. It seemed like she was fidgeting, kind of moving the speech around papers, and then she ripped it up. So you do think she was 100% trying to make this about herself?
It was very disappointing to me, because I really think that what the American people saw in the President's State of the Union address was an optimistic view of an America that is stronger than ever before. Our economy is setting records. We have the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, 7 million jobs created, and the lowest unemployment rate ever recorded for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, more women working than ever before. And that was just the beginning of the speech. And so to see the president make that case to the American people, to project such a positive message to our country, a country that should have, and I believe did, inspire people all over this country, to have that contrasted with her behavior, and not just at the end of the speech, but during the course of the speech. She was muttering to me throughout, and I think making some complaints.
It sure looked like that, honestly.
She was, and okay. I think her conduct, particularly at the end of the speech, was beneath the dignity of the institution. But I don't think in any way it took away from the fact that this president, I just heard it walking through a diner here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, this president delivered a message that the American people were excited to hear about a stronger America, a more secure America, and a determination with 4 more years to make America even greater than ever before.
We kind of want to know, what has your role been with the impeachment process, kind of behind the scenes?
Well, we have supported this administration and supported the president every step of the way. And the truth is, I think the American people have seen this for what it is. It's nothing more than a sham investigation where the president was given no due process at all, followed by a partisan impeachment, which today will result in the president of the United States being acquitted by the United States Senate.
Were you working with lawmakers actively, during this impeachment process? Were you talking with lawmakers, making your point, or did you kind of know how this was going to play out?
Well, I think once the trial began, as vice president, I'm constitutionally excluded from the process.
Right.
And so we simply sought to continue to support the president. Look, the American people have the facts, Henry.
Right.
I mean, we started out with a whistleblower complaint. We never hear about the whistleblower anymore because the American people can read the transcript. They could see there was no quid pro quo. President Zelensky said there was no pressure. The president did nothing wrong, and Ukraine received all of the military aid that was approved by the Congress. And his acquittal today will be a confirmation of all of that. And I hope also it gives us an opportunity
Right.
to move on. And maybe, just maybe, this Congress will take the president up on what he said last night. Let's work on lowering the cost of prescription drugs. Let's work on a highway bill to rebuild the roads and bridges and airports and ports of this country.
Right,
but
right.
to think of what's happened over the last 6 months, I think you have to think about the opposition this president has faced over the last 3 years. I mean, for 2.5 years, we heard about Russia collusion until the Justice Department confirmed there was no collusion, no obstruction, case closed.
Mr. Vice President, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you.
Great to have you on the bus.
Thank you.
Come back again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.